Doncaster Rovers and Port Vale were promoted back to the promised land of League One as Carlisle United's fate was finally sealed as they were relegated down to the National League, as well as Bradford and Walsall slipping up once again. Notts still have a chance of top 3 and the final playoff spot, causing all sorts of drama. Welcome back to the League 2 review. Game week 45, another 12 games for us to go through and react to. Loads of drama, loads of red cards as well. A couple of games where we're looking at 2 or 3 red cards. Absolutely mind-blowing stuff. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, don't forget to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. 180 likes as always on today's video will be massively appreciated, and don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below on your team's performance, result and all that sort of stuff. A lot of the fate for a lot of teams has already been sealed. You'll know if you're going to be in the National League, if you're going to be in League 2, and obviously some teams know that they are now going to be in League 1. So let me know how you're feeling going into the summer, what positions do you need to improve in, all that type of stuff. Let's waste no further time and get straight into it. Port Vale sealed their promotion back to League 1 with a 2-0 victory away at potential automatic promotion rivals AFC Wimbledon. After this result, it does confirm the Wombles will now be fighting for a playoff spot, and even that is no longer mathematically secure for them. Port Vale opened the lead in the second half. Jaheim Headley putting in a brilliant free kick, and Jaden Stockley just got a free header about 7 yards out. It's terrible defending from AFC Wimbledon. Stockley is one of, you'd probably say, top 3 headers of a ball in League 2, definitely right up there, and he's been given a free header. That is his bread and butter. Great cross into the box from Headley, and then the provider would turn into the goal scorer just 3 minutes later. Great through ball from George Byers. Headley gets the better of Josh Nerfield and a right-footed shot. The Wimbledon goalkeeper did get a hand to it, but he could only palm it into the back of his own net, and the absolute carnage all went off in the away end. Obviously, by full time, that had mathematically secured Port Vale's promotion back to League 1 at the first time of asking. Relegated last season, promoted this season. So a big congratulations to Darren Moore, obviously former Bradford City player, and all the Port Vale fans. When I watched them play against us a couple of weeks ago, they beat us 2-0 at home. They were one of the most efficient teams that I've seen all season. Just very, very good at what they do. I think for the large part, a lot of their main starting 11 is good enough for League 1. There's a few positions that I think they need to improve in, maybe goalkeeper, a couple of centre-backs, but on the whole, their starting 11 is very good. It's just about adding the little bit of quality in certain other positions, you know, a bit more competition in the striker department, apart from Talai and Stockley, maybe another midfielder as well, because you do tend to get some injuries in there with the likes of Garrity and Byers as well. As for AFC Wimbledon, very frustrating again, just one shot on target at home. Port Vale, they didn't really create much, but they were very clinical with the chances that they did have. Really frustrating, I'm sure, for Wimbledon. If they're having nearly 60% of possession, that shows that Port Vale were clearly very happy just to soak up the pressure. But like I mentioned, mathematically promotion is secured for Port Vale. 6-point gap with just 1 game to go. They're now battling out with Doncaster in the final game of the season for the title. I know Doncaster have Notts County away. I'm not 100% sure who Port Vale have on the final day, but it'll be interesting to see who does now go on and win the league. As for Wimbledon, it's just 2 points picked up out of their last at 12 available, and they're only in the playoffs now by 2 points. There is a real possibility they could lose their final game of the season, and then you've got Salford, Grimsby and Chesterfield who all could overtake Wimbledon. There is a real possibility they'll fall out of the top 7 entirely. After a couple of months ago, it looked like they were nailed on to finishing the top 3 because they were so efficient. They're now no longer scoring goals. They can't keep clean sheets either. They're on a really bad run of form. Their goal difference is really plummeting as well. A massive win for Port Vale, and like I said, big congratulations to Port Vale, Darren Moore and all of their fans as well, because they definitely deserve that promotion after the hell they went through last season. Doncaster Rovers were also promoted back to the promised land of League 1 as they beat Bradford City 2-1 at home in a game which they were comfortably the better side. From a Bradford City point of view, it was very similar to our performance away at Port Vale a couple of weeks ago, where we were just beaten by the better side. Really, our record away from home against the entirety of like the top 7 or 8 teams is absolutely garbage. We lost to Port Vale, we lost to Doncaster, we lost to Walsall, lost to Wimbledon, lost to Notts County, lost to Grimsby. We just lose to anybody half decent away from home. So if we do go up, we definitely need to sort that out for next season. Rob Street opened up the score, and I think a corner came into the box from Luke Molyneux. Tom Anderson just gets the better of Neil Byrne heads it back across goal, and then Rob Street gets the better of Aidan Baldwin to head home from about 5 yards out. It's terrible defending from a Bradford City point of view. Anytime you concede a goal from a set piece, you're going to be very disappointed, but to have two of your centre-halves out-muscled, done physically inside their own penalty area is absolutely unforgivable. 12 minutes later, the half-time whistle goes. Aidan Baldwin's in a bit of a conversation with the referee. I think the referee's trying to explain his decision to Baldwin. It does seem like he's holding his arm and then pushed him a little bit. He's kind of off camera, but eventually Baldwin just continues talking to the referee in a manner which clearly the referee didn't like, and eventually gives him a yellow card. Sam Walker's then dragging him away. Colin Doyle's trying to get him away as well, and he just doesn't shut up. You've already been booked. Anthony Sarswick got booked in the 20th minute for dissent as well. Our discipline this season has been embarrassing, and Baldwin's clearly said something so derogatory, he's giving him a straight red card, has the referee. And Alexander's come out in the post-match and basically said he doesn't have any complaints and he understands why the referee had to send him off. Now, it's my understanding that it will be a 2-game ban for Aidan Baldwin, so his season is probably over. As for that, after coming into the second half, we obviously made a couple of changes. Not a lot really happened until the 85th minute, where we were awarded a penalty. James Maxwell brings down George Lapsley. It looked like at first referee was maybe going to give a free kick the other way, which would have been baffling considering Maxwell just clearly did foul him, fell on top of him, and then for some reason Tyreek Wright stepped up to take the penalty. I cannot get over the decision in making your third choice left back take a penalty over Michael Mellon, Alex Patterson, even Tommy Lee or George Lapsley himself, even Brad Halliday. Why on earth is Tyreek Wright taking the penalty? I think as soon as he stepped up, nobody had the confidence. It was a terrible penalty, perfect height for a goalkeeper, not much power behind it, nowhere near the corner. Really, really poor penalty. I don't specifically blame him. I think Michael Mellon and Alex Patterson should definitely both be taking it ahead of Tyreek Wright, especially with Patterson being the captain, Mellon being a striker. Why does he not want to get another goal on his tally? Then we had around a 5 or 6 minute delay in play because there was they obviously threw pyros on the pitch. There was a bit of confrontation with the fans in the corner as well, and pretty much from the restart, keeper punts the ball long, Ethan Ennis wins a flick on, and Billy Sharp's got a 1v1, even though it's not really a 1v1 because Sam Walker is so far at his near post he might as well be sat in the stands. He gives Billy Sharp practically an open goal to roll the ball into the back of the net of, and the year could be 7,082 and Billy Sharp would still be scoring goals against Bradford City. Of course, he would be the man to score against Bradford City to obviously promote Doncaster, send them back up into League One. We did pull a goal back from a long throw. Michael Mellon's been credited with the assist for it. I'm not too sure if he knew much about that, but a great finish, to be fair, from Romany Critchlow. Unfortunately, it just wasn't quite enough, and Doncaster were promoted. Great scenes at full time and all that sort of stuff. The matchday vlog is out over on the main channel, but no complaints from me in terms of the result. It should have been a lot more than that, in all honesty. The stats actually favour us a little bit in terms of XG, but I guess they would definitely be inflated by that penalty. They had more possession and played some really nice football, especially in that first half. More shots. We actually had more shots on target. We had 4 big chances as well. Tyreek Wright missed a really good opportunity in the second half, but congratulations to Doncaster. Like I say, I think they probably will go on and win the league. They'll have a few days off celebrating, even though they spent a lot of yesterday singing about Bradford City. I do think that when they come back, they'll go away to Notts County next week, and I do anticipate that they will win, as obviously they are the best away team in the entire division so far this season. As for Bradford City, goodness me, 2 points picked up out of our last 12. How we're still in this top 3, I'll never know, and we will probably go on and get promoted. We've got Fleetwood at home next Saturday, and whilst I do think Fleetwood have scored the most amount of away goals in the league this season with 38, they have also conceded 38, which is, you know, the most in the entire top 14 team, so it will hopefully make for quite an entertaining game. They have won 8, but they've also lost 11, and obviously we are by far and away the best home team in the division. We've picked up 8 more points than anybody else in the league at home so far this campaign. So a win there would secure our promotion back to League One, but after the recent last couple of weeks and the amount of points that we've thrown away, I don't think anybody is feeling particularly confident going into it. Like I say, congratulations to Grant McCann, Doncaster Rovers, all their fans, and Jordan Gibson as well. It's the second time now he's been able to celebrate a promotion or a playoff semi-final win against us, pitch invader all the fans, and hopefully one day we'll get our get back on him, because goodness me, I'm sick of him. Notts County finally got back to winning ways to keep their automatic promotion hopes alive with a 3-1 victory away at Harrogate Town. I think Harrogate were 10 games unbeaten at home before this one, so fair play to Notts County. They got the job done. George Abbott opened up the scoring. It was a pretty easy goal for him to score here. The keeper's on the floor facing the wrong way, but you still got to find the back of the net with them. 4 minutes later, Jack Muldoon would equalise for Harrogate. James Belshaw getting the assist. Jody Jones kind of caught out defensively as you would really expect when you play wingers in wing-back. They can't really defend, and to be fair, took the goal very well. Conor Grant would put the visitors back in front 6 minutes into the second half. I think it was Jody Jones puts in a cross low towards the back post. Jatta has a tap in, well saved by James Belshaw, and then eventually Conor Grant does tap it in. There seems to be a lot of confusion about the referee or the linesman maybe not giving the goal, but eventually it was given. It would be Grant who would wrap up the scoring in the 76th minute. I don't think he's particularly set the world alight since joining Notts County, but nice for him to get a brace, which was obviously won Notts the game in the end. In terms of the stats, as you would expect, Notts County did dominate possession. Harrogate actually had the 20 shots, but clearly lacked that clinical edge on the day. Notts County had 10 shots on target, so definitely were the better team and probably did deserve to win. In terms of the league table then, mathematically Notts County can still get automatic promotion. They will require Bradford to lose, I think Walsall to draw, and Notts County to win on the final day. Now all that happening does seem very unlikely. With Bradford's amazing home form so far this season, Notts County struggling at home, and now they're playing at home to the best away team in the division in Doncaster Rovers and Walsall, well, they're Walsall really, so you wouldn't expect Walsall to win away at Crewe, but Crewe have been in even worse form than Walsall recently. I feel like I've said the Saddler's name there quite a lot, but it is still mathematically possible. Obviously they have now secured a playoff spot, so it'll be interesting from a Stuart Maynard point of view. Do you want to risk it all for that very, very slim chance of trying to get automatic promotion, or do you maybe give your players a bit of a rest for the Doncaster game, your more important ones, because obviously your playoff game will be coming up just, a week? Half a week around the corner, so it'll be interesting to see how they do go about that. I would assume they'll want to go into the playoffs with a little bit of form. It looks likely that they will play Wimbledon. I guess not everything is set in stone, plenty of things will still change, so if you're a Notts County fan, you probably do want to avoid Wimbledon or even Salford, really, because they never seem to do well against them two teams. But it'll be interesting to see how Stuart Maynard does play that final game against Doncaster. As for Harrogate, their mini unbeaten run has come to an end, but they're obviously mathematically safe from relegation. If they could try and finish as 18th, that'd be positive for them, but obviously Accrington and MK Dons have been on a decent run of form recently. Newport down to 21st. We'll obviously get onto them later, but they did sack Nelson Yardim. It is all about building for next season. I don't think losing at home to Notts County is anything to really turn your nose up at. Barrow and Bromley played out a 3-3 draw. It's a game that doesn't really mean much for either side, so we won't spend too much time talking about it. There was only the one goal in the first half, and that was a penalty from Ben Whitfield. Michael Cheek found himself on the score sheet once again as he converted 5 minutes into the second half. 3 minutes after that, Barrow would retake the lead, and it took quite a while for the next goal to come. 22 minutes later, Bromley would then make it 2-2. 85 minutes on the clock. Elliot Newby probably thought he'd scored the winner in that one, but Omar Suwumne would pop up in the 91st minute to rescue a point for Bromley. Like I said, this game doesn't really mean all too much. In terms of the stats from the game then, Barrow created more XG, had more possession, way more shots. Bromley actually had more shots on target though throughout the match, and like I mentioned previously, it is a game between two sides who don't really have much to play for. Bromley, their season is now mathematically over. They're 5 points off the playoffs with just one game to go. They have been on a decent run of form recently. Barrow, they continued their unbeaten run as well. They have been pretty solid at home under Andy Wing. I certainly think they need to improve their defence in this upcoming summer. They have conceded far too many goals so far this season, although you actually look at the teams around them, they've got one of the best, I think they've got the best defence in the bottom half of the table. They just don't really score many, but clearly this game where you're conceding 3 goals at home would maybe prove otherwise. Like I mentioned, a point for both teams doesn't really mean all too much. Let's move on. Carlisle's relegation to the National League was officially confirmed as they lost 3-2 away at Cheltenham Town. Even if they did win this game, obviously they still would have gone down because of the Tranmere result. They haven't been good enough across the full season. I've mentioned it a couple of times now. Why they ever appointed Mike Williamson, I will never know. If they'd have had Mark Hughes in at that time, they might have probably finished around mid-table because their squad actually isn't that bad on paper, but they appointed Mike Williamson, which I'll never understand. Matty Dennis did open the scoring for the visitors with a well-taken goal, to be fair. Ball gets played over the top. The Cheltenham defence just kind of seems to switch off a little bit, and then Dennis converts emphatically past the Cheltenham goalkeeper. 4 minutes later, Cheltenham were awarded a penalty, which is never a penalty in a million years. Gabriel Breeze clearly gets his hand on the ball. Really poor decision from the referee. Thankfully, I guess if you're a Carlisle fan, at least it hasn't cost you. That's not the reason why you've gone down. You've been bad over the whole season, obviously. Tranmere won anyway. But if that could have been the reason why Carlisle went down, goodness me, that referee would have never heard the end of it. Jordan Thomas sent Gabriel Breeze the wrong way. Really good penalty from a player, like I mentioned before, that I do rate very highly. Just before half-time, Wood found himself on the score sheet once again. I remember, did he score the winner away at Wimbledon a couple of weeks ago? Ball gets played over the top. The Carlisle defenders are all over the place. Gabriel Breeze half commits himself and then tries to go back. He's got to do one or the other. You have got to stay on your line or come out and clear out absolutely everything. Maybe because he's already been booked, he was a little bit nervous to do that, and obviously then Hay just does lob it over Breeze into the back of the net. The 73rd minute is when Carlisle would equalise, an outstanding cross into the box, to be fair, from Elliot Embleton. I know he's been a man who's been heavily criticised by Carlisle fans a lot this season, but it's a brilliant cross into the box. The keeper stands no chance, and Georgie Kelly is there once again at the back post to head home. Him and Dennis have really stepped up in the last couple of weeks. If he'd have been fit for the full season, who knows where Carlisle would have been. But again, when you sign an injury-prone players, what do you really expect? And then in the 93rd minute, former Bantam George Miller would secure the final goal of the game with a well-taken strike. I think, again, Breeze might be a bit disappointed that he has been beaten at his near post. It's a great strike, to be fair, from Miller, but yeah, like I say, he has been beaten at his near post, maybe a little bit too easily. In terms of the stats from the game, look like quite an entertaining one. 35 shots between the two sides. Cheltenham creating more XG, Carlisle having more of the possession, but Cheltenham having 8 shots on target, despite Carlisle having more big chances and also more corners. In terms of the league table, then it moves Cheltenham up to 15th there. Very good unbeaten run does continue. 10 points picked up out of their last 12, and it has always been about finishing the season as strongly as possible. Mathematically, they can still finish as high as 11th, although that would require a 9-goal swing over Bromley. I think they'll still be trying to look to finish in that top half. You look at Crewe's recent poor run of form. Fleetwood had been on a bad run and they've got a pretty tough end. Swindon, they're on a bit of a blip at the moment. Obviously, Colchester is not a team that they can catch, so ignore me from that point of view. As for Carlisle, 7 points from safety with just 1 game to go. Commiserations to them. You know, we've had our back and forths over the last couple of seasons with the playoff. It goes back before that, doesn't it, with the whole Amari Patrick and Jordan Gibson thing, the playoff semi-finals. Then obviously Carlisle have now suffered back-to-back relegations. They took our goalkeeper Harry Lewis halfway through that. They spend 200 grand on him and he can't get a kick whatsoever. And yeah, Carlisle will be in the National League next season with largely a lot of the squad that have been part of the back-to-back relegations, especially this season, because they've given them all 3.5-4-year contracts. Absolutely criminal what has gone on there. Far too many mistakes have been made, and unfortunately it is the supporters who do have to pay for their off-the-field mistakes. They've conceded a lot of goals, haven't really scored too many. Like I mentioned previously, if they'd have had Mark Hughes in a long time ago, they would have had much more chance of survival. Appointing anybody but Mike Williamson was the correct thing to do. Absolutely baffling why they chose to go down that route, but Carlisle have been relegated, so like I say, I send them all my commiserations. Chesterfield continued their unbeaten run and their rise towards the playoffs with a comfortable 4-1 victory at home to already relegated Morecambe. Will Grigg opened the scoring just before half-time. Morecambe just really failed to clear the ball. There's about 3 opportunities where Chesterfield could have scored from inside the 6-yard box, and eventually it is Will Grigg who would fire home. Jordan Slew actually did equalise for the visitors on the hour mark. Some nice play from David Tatonda on the left-hand side. Hangs the ball up and it's a great header, to be fair, from Slew. But just 2 minutes later, Ash Palmer would convert from a corner. Really, really poor defending from Morecambe. Great cross into the box from Mandeville, and Palmer just has a tap-in at the back post. Then Ryan Colclough would assist for Michael Olakigbe. Very, very easy for them again. The Morecambe players showing him on the outside, so Colclough just goes, alright, I'll go on the outside, then puts the ball across the face of goal, and Olakigbe is unmarked and just has a tap in. It's absolutely awful defending from Morecambe, and then 5 minutes later the scoring would be wrapped up. Free kick came into the box, Ash Palmer headed back across goal, and Tom Naylor again unmarked free header into the back of the net. Absolutely embarrassing from Morecambe, who, yes, they've given it their all this season, but for the large part, they've just massively lacked any quality all over the pitch. As you can see, total domination from Chesterfield. More XG, more possession, more shots on target, more big chances, more corners, more passes, less yellow cards. The list goes on. Chesterfield absolutely thumped them, and it does now put them in a real good position to make it into the playoffs on the final day. They've got a better goal difference than all of the teams around them. I'm not 100% sure who Chesterfield do play on the final day, but they're certainly the form team coming into it, and if you were to put a bet on any team winning the playoffs at this moment in time, you'd probably say Chesterfield and then 9th, because anybody who comes into the playoffs on good form normally wins it. That is usually how it does go. If Chesterfield do end up finishing in the playoffs, they'll probably finish 7th, which means they'll likely play Walsall, potentially Notts County, but I think if you're Chesterfield, Walsall is certainly the team that you want to play at this moment in time. As for Morecambe, they're already doomed. They're 12 points now from safety with just 1 game to go. They've lost their last 5 at the minimum. They've just been garbage all season. I mean, they've given it all they've got, but they've not really got a lot. So, yeah, they're down. I'm going down with a whimper now as well. Fleetwood Town beat Newport County 2-0 at home. Again, we won't spend too much time talking about this one because it's 2 teams that have nothing to play for. But Fleetwood's form at Highbury so far this season hasn't been particularly amazing, especially under Pete Wild. So nice for them to get a win there. But Newport have been dreadful away from home this season. Phoenix Patterson, I was calling in midweek when I was doing my top 10 League 2 wingers. I put him 4th in that list, saying he gets a lot of assists, but he needs to get more goals. And he's come up with a goal in the next game. I hope he doesn't score on Saturday. That'd be ideal if you could just leave that game out, Phoenix. 7 minutes into the second half, and Zach Medley would wrap up the scoring in the 74th minute. He's missed the majority of this season through injury, so he's going to be a big player for Fleetwood going into next season. In terms of the stats from the game, then it was all Fleetwood, really. I mean, if Fleetwood are having 61% possession when their manager's Pete Wild, it says a lot about Newport County, who obviously did sack Nelson Yardim in the week. I actually think from the outside looking in, it is quite a harsh sacking. Everybody wrote Newport off at the start of the season. Everyone thought they'd be going down with Morecambe, and he's kept them up pretty comfortably in the end, and yet all their fans absolutely hate him. Maybe it's because they go on good runs and they go on bad runs. They have taken some batterings this season. They've been awful away from home for the large part, but he's done what he was asked to do. A lot of people thought they'd go down. He's kept them up, so technically he's overachieved. I'm sure there's a lot more that meets the eye too at Newport County, but a great win for Fleetwood, and obviously gives them a little bit of confidence going into the Bradford away game on Saturday. I think everybody will be expecting Bradford to win that one. Obviously they have been on a poor run of form recently, have Fleetwood. They've scored a lot of goals away from home. At home is where they have struggled, so nice for them to get the win there. You look at the 45 games they've played this season, 15, 15 and 15 in terms of wins, draws and losses, and that is why they are sat in mid-table. Positive 1 goal difference. As for Newport, terrible run of form. They're not going to go down this season. They might next season though, when they lose a few of their key players, the likes of Bobby Camworth, for example, will probably move on in this upcoming summer. Great win for Fleetwood, but a result that largely doesn't mean anything. Gillingham and Swindon played out a 1-1 draw. Again, that doesn't really mean all too much, so we won't speak about this one for too long. Gillingham, they maintained their unbeaten run. Swindon, obviously now 2 games of that win for them after it seemed like they were scoring goals for fun very recently. Gabode would open the scoring just after the hour mark, and Will Wright would equalise just at 6 minutes later. That was also wrote in terms of the goals, but there was a couple of red cards for Gillingham. Johnny Williams was first sent off for a second bookable offence. I have actually seen his second yellow, and I think he can have no complaints about it. Absolutely wipes out the Swindon man. Gabode, I haven't seen his second yellow card or his first yellow card. I've not seen that red card, so I can't really comment on it, but yeah, not great from a discipline point of view. At least they'll both be back for next season. They obviously get the remainder of this season off, but I'm sure Gareth Innes will have them training hard on the pitch. He's not the type of manager just to go, well, you're suspended for the last game, so you can get on your holidays a week early. He's not going to do that. He's probably going to have them doing double sessions, because I'm sure he will be very disappointed to be ending the game with 9 men. In terms of the stats, Swindon dominated possession despite Gillingham having more shots and creating more expected goals. Swindon did have more corners, but shots on target and big chances were both very even as well. In terms of the league table, Swindon, they're in 13th, Gillingham, they're in 17th. Like I mentioned, a result out for the large part doesn't mean much for either side. Swindon have scored a lot of goals, conceded far too many. Gillingham haven't conceded many, but just haven't scored anywhere near enough. So if you maybe had the Gillingham defence with the Swindon attack, you might be looking at an automatic promotion team. MK Dons and Grimsby Town played out a 0-0 draw in a game which clearly not right. A lot happened. It was obviously Dean Lewington's final game playing for MK Dons, I think, at Stadium MK. Obviously, he's been there for pretty much their whole existence, and as much as everybody hates MK Dons, you got to give him credit. He's played 800, 900 games, something crazy like that for the football club. Absolutely brilliant. Obviously, he will be leaving at the end of this season. In terms of the stats, it was largely dominated by MK Dons. Grimsby failed to register a shot on target, so I think coming away from the game with a clean sheet when they've clearly been the better side, I think Grimsby will probably take that and look to move on. MK Dons have been pretty decent under Paul Ward 4-1 so far. As for them, it doesn't really mean all too much. It gives them a point closer, I guess, to where they want to be. It is now 3 games unbeaten for them. I think this was the game where Paul Warne did come in, so they're unbeaten under their new manager. As for Grimsby, they have now slipped out of that top 7. They're no longer in the driving seat. It is in Salford's hands going into the final game of the season, who have been obviously on a decent run where they've scored 7 in their last 2. They're absolutely flying at the moment. Salford. As for Grimsby, it's 4 without a win, just 3 points in their last 12. They're really slipping up recently. I still do think Chesterfield will make it into that top 7, but don't be surprised if Salford also make it in there with them and Wimbledon end up dropping out. But like I mentioned, in terms of this game, it's a point which doesn't really benefit Grimsby, and it just maintains MK Don's unbeaten run. Salford City absolutely thumped Colchester United 4-1 at home in a big playoff final spot, 6-pointer. This is exactly the type of result that Salford did need, and when they've had a lot of their better players available this season, they have been a real force to be reckoned with. They were awarded a penalty after about 20 seconds. It's absolutely awful from Colchester. The ball basically gets punted long, and I think it's Josh Osterfield who's eventually cleaned out by Fika Kelleher. Really clumsy defending from the former Bradford City man. Adulican doing what he does best, converting penalties. Liam Shepherd, I think it's Liam Shepherd, would then score after 21 minutes. A really poor pass from Flanagan into John Kaimani-Gordon. Shepherd then picks the ball up about 20-25 yards out and absolutely drills it into the bottom corner. 3 minutes after that one, then Salford did have a long throw. It's absolutely awful defending from Colchester. Cole Stockton's left unmarked and he just drills it into the back of the net. 11 minutes into the second half, Salford were awarded yet another penalty. I'm not 100% sure it is a pen, in all honesty. I think it's one of them where the winger has crossed the ball in, the fullback's gone to try and stop the cross coming in, and he's kind of just caught him a little bit. I don't think it's stonewall. Iandolo did go in with a lot of force. You've certainly seen them given. You've also seen them where the referee's gone, why would that ever be a penalty? And that's the problem with referees. They're all so inconsistent, and obviously Adulican does convert. Then obviously Colchester would pull a goal back from a corner. Great strike, to be fair, from Iandolo, making up for that penalty that he did give away, and that was all she wrote. Not a lot really happened in the final 25 minutes. In terms of the stats from the game then, Colchester dominated possession, but Salford were clearly the better team in every other metric. More XG, more shots on target, more big chances, more corners, all that sort of stuff, and that is a massive win for Kyle Robinson's side. Obviously it moves them into that top 7, back-to-back wins, 7 goals scored in their last 2. As for Colchester, they've now got to leapfrog at least 3 teams to make it into the playoffs after only picking up 1 point in their last 3 matches. They have been on a poor run of form. They've conceded 7 in their last 2, only scored 1 in that time. And I spoke about when Colchester were going on the good run, they've got a lot of their main players available. They've not got many injuries. Obviously, where Edwards was suspended for this game, they've got a couple injuries at the top end of the pitch, the likes of Lyle Taylor, for example, and obviously it is now certainly showing that they are just proving to be a very average team when they've not got their best players in there, like a lot of teams are at this level. Great win for Salford, very disappointing for Colchester, and they've now got a lot to do to make it into the playoffs this season. Tranmere Rovers mathematically confirmed their safety for another season as they beat Crewe Alexandra 2-0 at home. A lot of talking points here, 3 red cards throughout this match. Regan Hendry crossed from a free kick for Tom Davies to head home for the opener in the first half, and then with around 20 minutes or so left on the clock, Tom Lowry would see red for the visitors. It's just an accumulation of errors. A back pass gets played. It's one that Lowry probably does have to commit to, and obviously he does see a straight red for that. There's no malice in the challenge. It was just a last man tackle, so obviously he'll miss the final game of the season, and he'll obviously go back to Portsmouth in the summer. I do think he's a player who is very good for League 2 level, so I expect him to maybe go out and loan it to a League 1 club, or maybe even be sold out there, because I do think he is a tidy player. And then it's almost irony, isn't it, that 2 former Carlisle players would link up to score the goal which put the final nail in the coffin for Carlisle. Christian Dennis scoring from an Amari Patrick through ball. Well taken goal, to be fair, from Dennis. I know he's not quite at the heights that he would have wanted to at Tranmere, but he's certainly stepped up when he's needed to at times. He's not quite got to this sort of standard, but when Josh Davison's down here, he's obviously a lot better than that. 92 minutes on the clock. Regan Hendry would see red for a second bookable offence. A free kick gets given, and then maybe 1.5-2 seconds after that, Hendry just boots the ball away. I don't think he can really have many complaints. He's very daft, to be honest with you, because I do think he has been a very good player for Tranmere when he has been fit and available, and he obviously sees red, so that puts it down to 10 versus 10. And then Zach Williams is sent off in the 94th minute. I've watched it like 3 times now, and I'm very, very confused what he's been sent off for. It must be something which has happened off camera, which you can't see on the highlights. But I thought this Thibault for Crewe was definitely going to get sent off. He shoved Luke McGee into the advertising boards. He's then grabbing people by the scruff of the neck. He's ragging them around, all that sort of stuff. How he's only been booked, I will never know. Bradford City got a red card in the FA Cup second round against Morecambe when Neil Byrne threw somebody into the advertising boards. So why is the Crewe player only been booked for that? It could have even been the same referee. I think it's Tom Parsons who is the official for this one. We all know he's not a particularly great referee, but I'm very confused as to why Zach Williams has been sent off. I assume violent conduct, so he's going to miss the first couple of games of next season as well. I don't think Crewe can mathematically make it into the playoffs at this point, but obviously the Tranmere players got a couple of bookings in there as well. But yeah, absolutely crazy what was going on at the end of that one. If anyone knows why Williams was sent off, please let me know and enlighten me down below. As for the stats, Crewe were awful. One of the worst performances they've ever had under Lee Bell. They just look like they're on the beach. They're not really playing for him at this point, and they are going to need a rebuild in the summer. Hopefully they turn up on the final day, in front of the fans. They want to spoil Walsall's potential promotion party. Please just win, lads. I like what we'll do to Accrington. I'll pay for your transfer budget next season. There's 50p there for the taking. Take it or leave it. In terms of the stats, though, Tranmere clearly the better side, and they have been for the large part under Andy Crosby. They have been very good since, obviously, they did sack Nigel Adkins. Crewe barely laid a glove on Tranmere, who created more XG, more possession, more shots on target, big chances, corners. It was total domination and a real spirited fighting performance, the complete opposite as to what we saw from that Crewe team. They are now mathematically unable to make it into the playoffs. They are 6 points off with just one game to go, just 1 point picked up out of their last 5 matches. They've been on a real bad run of form, and they're not really scoring goals. They haven't scored in their last 3. They've only scored, is that 2? They've only scored 2 goals in their last 5 matches, and they both came against Cheltenham Town. That's absolutely embarrassing. As for Tranmere, safety secured for another season. After 3 games without a win, it is very important that they got the 3 points in this one, and it obviously meant regardless of Carlisle's result, they would be a League 2 club for next season. And there we go then. There is relegation officially confirmed. Commiserations to Carlisle and Morecambe. Very sad to see, but credit to Tranmere. They've really turned it around in recent weeks. And finally then, we have Walsall 0, Accrington 1. Looking at the full-time result, not even looking at the full-time result, stood in the away end of the Doncaster Rovers Stadium, and knowing that we'd lost, knowing Walsall had Accrington at home, I was so deflated. Given the manner of the way we'd gone out in that one, I thought there's absolutely no chance Accrington go away to Walsall and win. Even though they weren't mathematically safe before this game, it would have taken something so drastic and dramatic for Accrington to be relegated, but they only went and win, didn't they, to keep it in Bradford City's hands for the final game of the season. Absolutely outstanding. Thank you so much, Accrington Stanley. I've spoken about Ben Woods a lot on the channel, especially this year. I think he is a top player for this level, and one that I hope Bradford City go and sign, not just because he scored a Papi Cisse-esque goal for Newcastle away at Chelsea back in 2012 or anywhere it was. Absolutely outstanding strike, but I do really rate him as a holding midfielder for this level. Walsall, there's just so much disconnect or discontent, whatever the right terminology is, between Matt Sadler and the Walsall fans, who are obviously singing they want Sadler out, they want him sacked. It'll be interesting to know how many people actually want Matt Sadler out, because I think even if, say, they do get over the line and get promoted, Walsall will come straight back down under Sadler, because they have been garbage without Nathan Lowe this season. Obviously, Conor Barrett did see red in the 78th minute. Bit of a harsh red card, but in this day and age, you can't really commit any type of challenge like that without it being a red card. He did go over the ball a bit, and it doesn't look particularly great, so he's obviously going to miss the first 2 games of next season as well, unless Walsall make it into the playoffs, which is very likely at this point that they will be in the playoffs, so he'll be back for the final if they do get there. But I think with Walsall's recent form, there's absolutely no chance. I think is it something like no winning 14 for them now? Only 2 or 3 wins since they were beaten away at Bradford City. We've got to give Bradford a lot of credit here. We dismantled Walsall, and they haven't been able to recover since. In terms of the stats from the game, then Walsall were actually the better team in a lot of metrics. More XG, more possession, more shots on target. No big chance for either side, really, and obviously Walsall did have slightly more corners as well. In terms of the league table then, and where it does leave Walsall, another massive opportunity missed. Between Bradford and Walsall, does anybody... Hold on, why have Notts County qualified for the League Two playoffs, but Walsall and Bradford haven't? I don't know what's going on with Flash Score, but yeah, Walsall and Bradford, neither team seems to want to be promoted. 2 points in the last 5 for Walsall, 2 points in the last 4 for Bradford City. It's basically now a shootout between 3rd, 4th and 5th, although Bradford have got a 3-point advantage on Notts, a 1-point advantage on Walsall, and probably the most favourable fixture, definitely more favourable than Notts County. And you would say with Crewe's recent run of form, Walsall's game also does now become a little bit favourable, but Walsall have also been garbage for quite a while. Over the last 15 matches, Walsall are 20th. Over the last 10 games, Walsall are 23rd. Relegation form. No wins in their last 10, absolutely awful. Even in their last 20 matches, Walsall are 23rd, 2 wins in 20. It can't go on like this, can it? It wouldn't surprise me if Walsall went and won the playoffs, because that would just sum up League Two, wouldn't it? In terms of the league table then, as we know, Doncaster and Port Vale are already promoted. Who do you think will win the title? I do genuinely believe Doncaster will now go on and win it. I think Grant McCann will really have his side motivated up for it, and obviously they've got some real firepower at the top end of the pitch. Notts County aren't particularly great at home, and I don't see Notts making it into the top 3. I do expect Bradford City to beat Fleetwood at home, and I think we will beat them pretty comfortably with Richie Smallwood now being back. I know Fleetwood have scored a lot of goals away from home, but I'll be very, very disappointed if we somehow don't beat them. Even if we lose to Fleetwood, I still think we'll be promoted, because I also see Walsall losing away at Crewe, or that game might end up finishing as a 0-0 or a 4-4. I really don't see a world in which Walsall go away to Crewe and win, given they've got 2 wins in their last 20, and I don't see us losing at home to Fleetwood. In terms of the playoffs, I think it'll be Walsall, I think it'll be Notts County, I think it'll be Salford, and I think it'll be Chesterfield as well. I think Wimbledon will drop out, Grimsby won't make it in there, Colchester I don't think will make it in there either, and as we know for relegation, Morecambe and Carlisle, they're both going down, so they've got nothing to play for. But let me know your thoughts down below. Who do you think will join Port Vale and Doncaster in League One next season? Who makes the playoff spots as well? As that's all we've really got left to discuss. If you have enjoyed watching today's video, don't forget to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. 180 likes, as I mentioned at the start of today's video, will be massively appreciated, and don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Thank you all so much for the support on this channel. We're nearly at 1,000 subscribers after just 1 season, absolutely incredible, so thank you so much for the support. We're really close to 800, we might have even hit it by the time this video does come out. Your support genuinely does mean the world. Thank you for watching, and hopefully this time next week we'll see in the title Bradford are promoted. Let's hope. Everybody keep your fingers crossed for us.